Hey everybody, I wanted to take a little time and explain to you about properties and changes. So in this case we are dealing with chemical and physical properties and changes. So what is a chemical and physical property? What is a chemical physical change? So let's take a look. Okay. A physical property, when we're talking about physical properties are usually something that's measurable and deals with whatever it is appearance. Okay, so when we talk about physical properties, we're talking about size. You can definitely measure something. You can measure a box. It has a certain amount of size. Okay, you also have something like mass. Okay, now while mass is not necessarily something that has to do with appearance, it is measurable. Okay, you may know mass as something like weight. They're two different things, but they're related. So appearance has a lot to do with it. Okay, a chemical property has to do with how a substance reacts. Okay, so a property of something is it is flammable, which means will that substance, like paper for example, will it catch fire? Will it react? Okay, that is a chemical property, that paper is flammable. Will it tarnish? Will it rust? Will it explode? Will it whatever? Okay, so a chemical property deals with how a substance will react. Okay, so now changes usually can be measured. Okay, so if we have a box and we cut this box in half, we can measure the change. Okay, identifying the color is a physical property, but the reason why something may change color could be because of a chemical change. So, for example, baking. You bake let's say you burn a piece of bread. You put a piece of bread in a toaster, it toasts up, you leave it in too long and it burns. Okay, that piece of bread has changed color. So the color is the physical change, but the fact that it has changed color is because of a chemical change that has happened. It has changed because it's reacted, it has burned. Okay, so colors can be sometimes a tricky one. Usually the physical property of color is indicative of a chemical change. Okay, if something changes color, it usually indicates that it's a chemical change. Okay, so that leads us into what is a chemical change. A chemical change is something where we can ask ourselves, is it the same as when we began? So if it's the same as when it began, then it's not a chemical change. It was only a physical change. If it's different, if you ask, is it the same, and the answer is no, then that means it's a chemical change. So the example is burning a log on a fire. You burn a log on a fire. You started with a log. It burnt. Is it still a log when you look at it after the fire is over with? No, it's not. Okay, so a chemical change is a change in the matter that is happening, that is undergoing that chemical change. Okay, so some examples and a little bit of physical properties and changes in depth. So there's a board. Take a minute and figure out some of the physical properties of that board. Okay. And then I cut the board in half with a saw. That's what I'm doing right here. Okay, as I'm sawing that board in half. Okay, and then notice I have two boards. Okay, so I have taken it. Maybe I cut it in half and then I turned it around. I don't know. Anyways, but now I have two boards. So what kind of change is that? Right, it's a physical change because I have cut the board in half. I haven't changed what it is made up of. Is it a board still? Yes, it's a board. It's just shorter. I have changed its length, but I haven't changed what it's made up of. Okay, so chemical changes can be a little trickier, but let's start with the ones that aren't tricky or a little more straightforward. So rusting is a chemical change. Okay, if you look, this chain is normal. This chain has rust on it, and a rusty chain can snap right in half. This chain here is not going to snap in half. This chain could. Okay, burning. You have a fire. We talked about logs burning. You have a fire, something happens. That's going to change. That's a chemical change because whatever is burning isn't going to be the same after that process is over. And same thing with fireworks exploding here. Okay, it goes up in the air. It is one thing. After it explodes, it has changed completely. It's different. You can't set off fireworks over and over and over again. You have to get new fireworks. Okay. So the thing that I wanted to point out to you was this. So here we have, and I'll show you more in detail this whole thing, but here we have water, okay? And so here we have liquid water, and here we have water that's a gas, okay? So a lot of times when we boil water, okay, sometimes people think that it's a chemical change because it appears to be different, okay? But let's take a look at what actually is happening when we boil water. So what I have in this container is water. You can see the little water molecules here, and they're just moving around. These water molecules, I know it's water because it's at 49 degrees Celsius, okay? And those water molecules are kind of really close together. They're being pushed together. And so what's going to happen now when I heat this thing is that the water is going to heat up and those molecules are going to start moving more quickly. And now the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. So if we look at this, it's above the boiling point of water. So now this is the molecules, and this is what water looks like when it is boiling. Okay, notice that the water molecule is still the same. It's still a little red with two white nubbins hanging off of it. Okay, the water molecule is still the same. It just changed how it looks. It's changed its appearance. It's gone from a liquidy thing to a gassy thing. Okay, so anytime you have a state change, going from gas to liquid, liquid to gas in this case, solid to liquid, liquid to solid, anytime you're changing state, solid, liquid, gas, that is considered to be a physical change only. We're not changing what the compound is. Okay, so there it is. That is physical chemical properties and physical chemical changes. Have a great day, everybody.